American Airlines flight that was on final approach into the Washington, D.C. Reagan National Airport last week, it now appears that the pilots of that doomed American airline plane did make a last-ditch effort to try to save everybody on board. Preliminary data is starting to now be released from the plane's flight data recorder, and it shows that the captain, Jonathan Campos, along with his first officer, Samuel Lilly, must have seen what was about to happen, and they tried to pull the plane up in elevation to avoid being hit by the Black Hawk. Here's a quote from the NTSB, one of the key members there, saying, "At one point close to impact, there was a slight change in pitch, meaning an increase in pitch." They also said that there is conflicting information now. This is somewhat concerning. I mean, ultimately, we'll get the answers, but they say there's conflicting information about the altitude of the helicopter in relation to the airline. Data from the Jets recorder showed its altitude at 325, plus or minus 25 feet. That's when the crash happened. But the data back at the control tower said that the Black Hawk was operating at 200 feet, which is the limit from what they're supposed to actually be flying at. And as you know, virtually all helicopter traffic up and down the Potomac has been halted. We don't know if that's for the next week or two or if that's going to be almost semi-permanent, but we continue to try to get additional information. How could this crash have occurred if the plane was at that altitude and yet the helicopter was closer to 200 feet? It's just not quite adding up. But we believe that today, in fact, let me show you a live picture of what's going on right now. We do believe that there are going to be a couple of major developments today. And by the way, Celeste joins as well. Good morning,
Good
Celeste.
morning, Ron. Good morning, everyone.
So there is an effort underway now out there in the Potomac River to try to begin the process of pulling up the fuselage, and that may very well happen sometime later today, or at least we understand it broke into 3 different pieces. But at the same time, we believe we're going to get new information released from the Blackhawks black box because they have managed to locate it. And there are multiple reports that at some point today, the NTSB, they've been very good about when they get the information, they don't sit on it. I mean, they really are trying to get the information out there in bits and pieces, piecing it together because, of course, people want to know the answers. But we think later today we could get, and Sean Duffy, by the way, gave an interview where he said, we're trying to figure out a lot of the just very basic things like, for example, were they wearing their night vision goggles at the moment of the impact, or were they not? There's a lot to learn. Who was piloting the Black Hawk? What exact elevation? How far off course were they? We could get many of those answers later today. And so, as we show you these live images, this, of course, is going to be a multi-day process. But it looks like they are going to try to bring up at least one piece of that doomed aircraft as the day goes on. So we have all of that for you. Now, in terms of where do we go from here, it's very interesting because we have we have multiple reports that they were not at normal staffing levels. That the individual who would have been in the tower talking to helicopters, it turns out the guy who was on duty that night had to be the one talking both to aircraft coming in and to helicopters. Whether that played a role, ultimately we'll find out. But believe me, they know something's got to change at these air traffic control towers. And here is what the new transportation secretary said this weekend. Sean Duff.
We haven't had enough air traffic controllers in America for a very long time. And so we're working with the FAA right now to go, how do we surge the best and the brightest air traffic controllers to get into the academy, to get trained up, and make sure we don't have these staffing.
Okay, just to wrap up what he had said there, to make sure we don't have these staffing issues again. But the problem, of course, Celeste, is that 90% of air traffic control facilities in the USA are currently understaffed.
That's
90%.
crazy.
Yeah,
I think it's one part of the aviation industry. I don't think that we realized could have been understaffed.
right.
It seems like a no-brainer. Think of the power that they have, the big job responsibilities and duties that they have on a daily
Oh,
basis.
the stress has got to be
When we
incredible.
talk about all the planes flying in and out, it's amazing, honestly, the fact that we don't have enough of them
Right.
in the industry, that there haven't been more crashes. I mean, think about the stress load
Yeah.
that is on them if they're having to deal with the situations like this, close calls and things like that.
Yes, right. I mean, every decision you're making, of course, the pilot is also ultimately responsible for the
Mm.
safety of the people on board. But you got to be working. If you go onto YouTube, there are all kinds of videos out there of pilots, I guess you could say, kind of getting into arguments with air traffic control because I think they're on kind of alert themselves,
Mhm.
not 100% sure that they're always getting the best information from the tower,
Well, and the tower, they're supposed to be kind of your eyes in the sky, right? And
right?
remain calm at all times. So even when there's a situation where maybe you might have kind of a dicey situation, hey, can you touch down, go back up, give me a go around and come back and try that landing again?
Sure.
They have to remain very calm, cool and collected.
It's a really good point, Celeste. Now, we do have some new video. It's pretty shocking. But we are going to share it with you here. Coming out of that plane crash in Philadelphia from
Oh,
just the other day.
yeah.
It's from, mostly people have been looking at the video coming into the aftermath, but this was the moment of the crash.
Wow.
And you can see it's from like a dash cam, and it happens just
Wow.
right there where you just see that fireball and suddenly people are slamming on their brakes. It happened right in front. Oh, by the way, over to the right, you can see some of the debris that was starting to
Mhm.
fall down. I even saw a report from Fox that
Wow.
somebody who was dining at a restaurant a half a mile away
Mhm.
was hit in the head from debris from the crash, which you understand once you see the explosion that it not only was it a fireball, but it just sent the debris flying in all directions. Diner employee telling our Fox 5 in Philadelphia, an object flew through the window of the diner and hit the man in the head, and it looks like he's going to live.
That's incredible. When you look at the beginning, when that plane, when the helicopter, the ambulance aircraft starts to go down, it
Yeah.
almost looks like there was something going on the plane, the way it nosedives,
Yeah.
and I'm sure that's part of the investigation.
Well, here's the other video from the crater where they were able to locate the black boxes. We're going to get more information there, but you're exactly right. What exactly? It was 1,500 feet in elevation. It
Mhm.
appeared to be a normal takeoff from a nearby, not the main Philadelphia airport, an airport nearby.
Aw.
This was a Learjet 55 medevac jet, and it was Friday night at what was called the Roosevelt Mall. Everybody on board was killed, but we're getting reports that more than 20 people were injured. That would be a lot of the people who were on the ground anywhere in that area.
You heard there was a lot of people who are pilots and also social media influencers taken to YouTube and Instagram and
Mhm.
TikTok, and they were talking about fear of flying and whether or not this is cause for concern that we're seeing some of these situations taking place so close together. And one thing that you've heard over and over, but it was a kind of a gentle reminder, is that the most dangerous parts of flying
Mhm.
is takeoff and landing. Those are the
Oh, for
times
sure. Yeah,
when
right?
yes, and both of these situations, one
Hmm.
happened, of course, into Reagan, that was landing, and this one upon
Well,
takeoff.
and then there was something over the weekend in Texas where they were just in the process of getting ready to take off. And then the people on board this United flight look out to the wing right there and they can see it's on fire. Look at this lady. You can imagine the shock that people are dealing with there. Fortunately, they were ready there. They got the plane. The plane, I don't believe ever got airborne, but it looked like it was getting pretty close. They managed to rescue the people who were on board. They were obviously forced into a situation where they had to evacuate. I hope they didn't
Mhm.
keep them on there very long. I had heard a report that they brought the stairs up to the aircraft because they didn't get it all the way back to the gate. I hope they weren't stuck on there for very long, but you can see emergency responders. But because of that, Celeste, on top of all the news that happened this weekend, our poll question is getting a fair response this morning,
Mhm.
and here it is. It is already with 100 votes. Are you going to change any flight plans for traveling this year? Almost a quarter of people are saying, I think I'll drive. Now, obviously, if you're flying overseas or you're planning a trip to the other side of the country, maybe you're not going to drive to Boston or New York or
Right.
Charlotte or Miami.
Mhm.
But if it's a flight to Seattle or Portland
San
or
Diego?
Denver, yeah, any of
Yeah, and
those.
if you're within driving distance, maybe you
Mhm.
choose to drive.
Yeah. So anyway, then you've got about the same, about a quarter of people saying, I'm not worried about the airlines. I'm not worried about air traffic control. 12% are saying, I haven't decided just yet, but I just might. And then you can see 38% say, I haven't flown in years and I'm not about to start now.
I like those people. I'd like to chat with you on the phone. Let me
Yeah.
read a couple of comments, Ron.
Good.
Ben Moore, 1776, says the odds of dying in a car crash significantly higher than a plane crash. You've heard that time and time again, yes.
Yeah.
Sherry Nevada Pub says I used to fly about once a month with Nevada going to her sporting events. I have not flown since she passed away. Sorry to hear about that. With all the planes, I am thankful I have no need to fly. I don't really like driving anywhere either because of all the crazy drivers out there. So she is just hanging.
Okay, thanks for your comments and keep them coming. We check the chat box constantly. Here, ladies and gentlemen, is your mystery cam. We'll be back in 2 minutes. We just love interacting with you guys. You've got opinions on the stories we cover, on our poll question, and then you're always jumping in with your guesses on where, like Darshay is on this morning. Good morning, Darshay. And she is thinking Tennessee. Little philosophy, Celeste says maybe it's Athens, Georgia.
Yeah. And B. Miguel says, Brandon says South Carolina. I'm going to hang with Darshay on this. I'm going to go, close to Tennessee. I'm going to say Kentucky
Okay.
on this. What do you think, Ron?
I'm liking Georgia.
Okay.
I was trying so hard to look for any names. It's fair game. I mean, Dean tries to avoid ever giving us any real clues like that. But, I think I'm going to go Georgia, and you're going Kentucky.
Lisa Dinsmore said somewhere in the USA, which is actually very witty because we have gone out of the country before.
Yes?
We have gone.
Yes.
Okay, ready?
Point.
Let's take a look.
Here we go.
Marietta, Georgia.
Ooh, Celeste, my
guessed?
first victory in a while here.
Ron, I think it might be your first victory in the new studio.
Not that you're keeping track. That was Lil Philosophy who said Athens. I don't know if it's Athens. It could be.
Yeah, but it was a cute little town square. I said it sure does look like Prescott, Arizona. For those of you who are streaming and watching around the country, this is kind of what Prescott, Arizona looks like. It was the first territorial capital of Arizona, and they have one of the best rodeos in the state.
There was a story once, this was years ago, when the first Dillard's department store came to Prescott.
Keep talking, Ron.
That I believe Mr. Dillard came to Prescott and fell in love with the town. And looked at the town square and everything else and said, "This is where we need to be."
Yeah, and then Mr. J.C. Penney moved in, and Mr. Costco, and and now Prescott, the high desert at 5,000 feet in elevation. It's like you get 4 seasons, and you get a little bit of everything there now. It's awesome.
By the way, who put the story out there today? I don't know, one of these national outfits who said, when will life in the desert Southwest become unlivable?
Oh.
Come on, man. What's it going to be, 84 today?
Yeah.
Something like that?
If we were in the 1930s and we did not have the invention of air conditioning, I would say I'm with you. But it's nice now. We got some AC.
I know. But they're going to run those stories again. If you don't like living here, 5 million people do, by the way.
Yeah.
You don't have to you don't have to hit the panic button quite to that level, I don't think.
Not until July, anyway.
Yeah, right. All we ask is that we never have another 117 on October 1st.
Oh, please,
It lasted way too long. September was way too hot. All right, major development this morning. By the way, I'm looking at all of our live cams to see if we have anything from the White House. Right now, I don't see it. But, Celeste, we can bring up the market, which let me just punch this button right there. Okay. It was down 600-plus points a while ago, and now is basically rebounding, not all the way back to the green territory. But in case you missed it, Mexico, it was just announced an hour ago, they agreed to deploy 10,000 troops to the U.S.-Mexico border in exchange for a 1-month delay after President Trump talked with Mexico's president, Claudia Sheinbaum, which, by the way, I always try to do a little extra research for our viewers here on Fox 10 Talks. I saw where her approval rating is sky high. She's relatively new in office, but it's above 60%.
Yeah.
Which for any politician in any part of the world, in Russia, it's interesting how Putin always gets like 90% approval rating.
How does that happen, Ron?
Yeah.
My goodness, that sounds like a case study in politics for sure.
Well, at least they are both talking, right? President Trump and President Sheinbaum.
Yes.
And so they're going to begin talks, we're told, on wider trade and security issues in the coming days. But they talked. And it looked like Mexico, in a good faith effort, said, all right, it won't be like 500 troops or 1,000. We're going to put 10,000 troops on that U.S.
Well, you always talk, when you're talking about negotiations, it could be on a contract at work, Ron, like you and I do here.
Sure.
It could be...
I've heard that yours drag out for months.
Yeah, right. It could be negotiating on dinner. We're going to have dinner.
Just a quick tip. if you didn't ask for 100% pay raises every time you go in,
Yeah.
it might go better.
Thank you, Ron. Okay, I'll have to remember that. But the tariff is a negotiation tool.
Yeah.
And so this has proved, at least with our southern border, our
Sure.
country neighbor
Yeah.
to the south of us,
Right.
to be working
Yeah.
at least a
Well,
little.
yeah. I mean,
I actually was thinking our price is going to go up and on what goods? Corona and avocados. Isn't that what one of our lawmakers held up? An avocado
that was
and a.
Chuck Schumer's
Thank
news
you.
conference
Thank
this
you.
weekend. This could impact your Super Bowl. Well, we can buy
Okay.
beer from other
Calm down.
outlets, right?
Calm down. And I can do a 7-layer bean dip and swap out the guac with something else. I don't know.
Right, I don't know. But, I mean, our economy is the largest in the world.
It is.
And so Mexico and Canada really rely on us and our gigantic, strong economy. And so they're much more panicked. I
Mhm.
sense no panic in the U.S.
No,
over
me
this.
neither.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, if we have to start a garden or a chicken coop, Ron,
Okay.
then I don't know. Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
I have to check my HOA, Celeste. All right. Hey, did you see what happened with the Groundhog this weekend? Check it out.
Get ready for 6 more weeks of winter this year. Woo!
Why? How do they always, let's see, what's that? Seer of Seers forecast. Why does Phil stay so calm? Have you ever asked yourself that question, Celeste?
Well, he must be very sure of his decision.
He must. I mean, he just sits out there and stares at the crowd like, take that. Maybe you wanted an early spring, but you ain't going to get it.
And now that I've given you my decision, I want a snack.
I used to have a thing, Celeste. Yeah, now I want that snack. I used to have a thing where I would go home and watch Groundhog Day
Of course, Ron.
on Groundhog Day because it's such a funny movie.
It is a funny movie.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Who's the main actor in that one again?
Well, it's Bill Murray.
Thank you, Bill Murray. That's who
Right.
I was thinking of.
Yeah,
Yeah, so funny.
no kidding.
Didn't we have that story last week where we were talking about the idea of artificial intelligence or some chatbot taking over for Punxsutawney Phil? Was that here? in the street?
Yeah, and then we also had the idea of maybe replacing it with a cake. You chop up a cake,
Oh,
and is it
brother.
blue or pink inside?
Oh, it's like a gender reveal. Boo. My goodness.
So the Groundhog continues. We will see, by the way, on the morning show this morning, I haven't independently verified it, Celeste, but we had said on the morning show that his success rate is only around 40%. I mean, it's less than 50-50.
I mean, it's better than probably a robot would do. I mean, at least we have somebody to blame right now.
Yeah.
We don't have anybody to blame
Or
if
a
a robot did it.
Or a coin flip, something like
Yeah.
that. All right, Celeste, we have the list. It just came out this morning of the top 5 most annoying things about your coworker.
Oh, Ron, don't look
So,
at me that way.
I was going to say you can give me your 5. I'll give you my 5.
Annoying things about a coworker.
But here is, this is straight from the job recruitment company called Monster.
Okay.
And so starting at number 5.
Not that your coworker's a monster.
I hope not. But, as you guys are watching on the stream this morning,
Yes.
you can agree or disagree. Here we go. By the way, that would be a fun one to look at in the chat box.
Oh,
Celeste.
yes.
What's your pet peeve with a coworker?
Coworker pet
Or-
peeve,
Yeah.
sure.
All right, number 5 is always late to meetings.
Oh.
Not around here.
No, we are on it.
Yes, very tight ship.
Yes.
So number 4 is people who don't respond to messages.
Oh.
I don't really see a problem with that. Now, in my family, sometimes I feel like I have to wait a day to get a response.
Oh, my gosh.
But
Ron.
yes,
Okay, who is this? Who's the culprit?
I cannot name names because they're probably watching
and,
this morning.
and here's the thing: working in a newsroom, like if you're not responding to me, I'm just gonna
Yeah.
go, "Hey, Ron.
Yeah,
Hey.
there's an old-fashioned solution, Celeste.
It's called raise your voice."
Yeah, right. Exactly. So number 3, and this is honestly to me, this is like about as selfish as you can get, is coworkers who think it's just fine to cuss up a storm. They're
Oh.
dropping the F word.
Not
They're
cool.
dropping other stuff,
Not
and I'm like,
cool.
I don't care if you get rip-roaring drunk over the weekend, and that's your language all
Wow.
weekend long.
Ron, them are fighting words.
Don't bring it into the office,
Thank you.
right?
I'm
Some of
with
us don't want to
you.
hear it.
I don't want to hear it.
I don't either.
These ears don't want to hear it.
By the way, have you noticed that some of these streaming shows and podcasts, they'll occasionally drop some of the language, and
They
I'm like,
will.
you know what? I have a feeling kids are listening.
And what about your mom?
And
Is
your mom is
mom
listening.
listening?
Thank you very much.
Oh my gosh.
All right, here come the top 2. Do you have any guesses?
I do have a
Celeste?
guess. So
Okay.
Jen's Wall says nosy drama queens.
That's
What are you doing? What are you doing over there?
Right.
Who are you calling? Who are you talking on the phone? It's like, hold on a second.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get stuff done off my to-do list.
Well, it's right in the category of number 2,
Okay.
which is gossips.
Yeah.
Gossips at work.
Yeah, not good.
No,
And you know what? Let me just tell you, it always gets back to the person.
does it?
It
Yeah.
always gets back to the
Right.
person.
Sure.
So don't even try it. This is a
Right.
safe space, people, on this stream. So we're trying to help you out.
Right? Let me just see if we have any other. Yeah, gossipers. KDJW says, the last job I was in, a coworker always talked to my customers, and it would
Oh.
annoy the heck out of me.
Trying to steal their thunder, Ron.
Correct. How about Lisa? No more political talk.
Yeah, that's hard.
Right?
Yeah, you got you have to respectfully disagree and just kind of keep it very surface if you have to talk about it for work.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
I
that's
agree
so
with you.
true.
Yeah, Linda Monterth also said gossipers.
Okay.
And Jen's Wall says LOL. She's laughing at us.
Hey, let's see, Celeste, if I think I've got this video all set and ready to go.
Mhm.
The folks at Lego have come out. This is amazing to me. This is an 800-piece set that you can, instead of paying $100 for a bouquet of roses,
Mhm.
that's not unusual to see that.
Okay.
I mean, anywhere from 50 to 100, and they're gone, dead in a week. You can build these things, and they last forever, and you can test out your love to see who's
Aw.
more. Are you both kind of patient? You can work on it, that type of a thing.
Yeah, maybe. You know, you
Maybe.
either go with something like this, or there are those flower bouquets that live for like a year, Ron. Have you heard of them?
Oh.
I believe it's
Oh,
called
fake flowers
no, they're real.
for a year?
And they treat them. I
Okay.
believe I was traveling with my daughter, and we were in Los Angeles and stopped at this walk around mall just to kind of go have some lunch.
Yeah.
And we found this boutique, and it's called, believe, Venus et Fleur or
Oh,
something.
okay.
And they have them all the different colors and everything, and they never die.
Incredible. Hey, one last image for you this morning as we deal with the 85-degree weather today. These pictures just came in this morning from Vancouver,
Wow, so pretty.
British Columbia. It's still a winter wonderland in some parts of Mother Earth.
All right, let's go skiing. Let's go skiing up to Vancouver. Thanks for watching, everyone. Have a great day.